So hello, welcome to my talk. It's about Plone 5 theming. If you just think about it, theming is probably the one of the oldest concepts in the Plone world. I suppose that exactly will be the second one. Just after, I can imagine Alex Limi and Alan Runyon just putting their first version of a Plone site, the first Plone site, and then thinking about them and saying, okay, now I want to change the logo. So I can imagine that. However, theming has evolved, and in Plone 5 is not the exception. So we will try to show all this evolution and how it looks like in Plone 5. So that's me. I'm Víctor Fernández de Alba. I'm from Barcelona. I'm work with Plone since 10 years ago. I'm Plone Foundation member. I'm worked with Plone EPB Multilingual project. I'm also one of the co-authors of Barceloneta theme, which is the default Plone 5 theme. I'm also the team leader of the new Plone.org project, which we expected to have it really soon. And that's pretty it. I want to start with Barceloneta theme. And I wanted also to make you notice that Barceloneta is in fact, I don't know if you know, already know it, but Barceloneta is in fact a neighborhood in Barcelona, and is also a very famous beach there. And because I don't know if you already know, but there is the tradition that the default Plone theme should have a beach name. So Barceloneta is no exception on that. So we'll talk about the Barceloneta architecture, how it's distributed or its resources, and what are all of them. First of all, I want to take credit to these two guys. In the Barceloneta theme, a lot of people work on it, and I want to thank you, every one of them, but I want to make a special notice to these two guys. Uriol is the designer who first did the first mockups for Barceloneta theme, and then Albert was the one who finally put them in shape in proper HTML and CSS in his Google Summer of Code during the last year. So, I don't know if you already take a look at Barceloneta, but it sports a very deductive, less structure and file naming for all its resources. Of course, Barceloneta it's making with using less precompiler, CSS precompiler, and this is a work that Albert make a special care with it. That every resource, every less resource have its own purpose. And for example, we have all the scaffolding things in one resource. We have, for example, the printing stuff in its own resource, and there is that separation of concerns that it will help us later to easy theming our own theme, because we can. The idea is that we can reuse those resources in our behalf. Then Barceloneta theme also have very useful variables.plone.less, this resource, where is the resource that have concentrated all the variables that use later on the other resources. And it's very useful to have it in one place also, because you can change a specific color for some, for example, for the body background or for the text color, and you can change it one time, and then once compiled, it gets changed through the theme. you will see very resemblances with Bootstrap 3, in fact, because Barceloneta theme is Bootstrap 3 based, but it's not dependent on Bootstrap in any way. It's like we take a photo of Bootstrap at one point in the history, and we evolved our own theme of Barceloneta evolved around that, and we also prepended Plone slide dash whatever whenever it was possible, and as long it didn't break anything with legacy CSS, because we don't want it that you have to already change CSS that you already done in your previous Diazo themes. So original Bootstrap resources are included on Plone in case that you wanted to use it in your own theme, but Barceloneta is not using any of them. So that is important. Okay. We took this decision because we don't want it to being slaves of any framework, CSS framework at all, including Bootstrap. And we don't want it that was a limitation in order, when it comes to people do its own theme. In fact, we'll see it later. You can use whatever framework you want when you are building your theme. So we preserved all the Plone legacy classes and IDs, again, for not to break legacy to have legacy compatibility and not break legacy Diazo themes. So we didn't strip away all the old classes. So the old classes like these ones are still there and it still works. And we used some techniques in less, some like extends that we'll see later also, to make it work fine with the existing Bootstrap way of doing things. Let's say it that way. So what changed really? It changed almost everything because we in Barceloneta we got all the existing templates, which, as you already know, they are through all the code, and we updated it, modernized it, make it HTML5, and corrected some bad things. We eliminate the DLs of portlets for say something. We updated the alerts. We generally make it more modern and HTML5 compliant. So yeah, we almost change everything, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because maybe in your existing themes you are already correcting that via Diazo rules or via skins, and now you can simply drop it and use the default templates of Plone. So I don't know if someone noticed, but we have a new view-let in Plone 5. And this is the Plone main navigation view-let. This is because some people complain about that sometimes it was difficult to Diazo or to move view-let, the global section view-lets around. And we finally decided to add this new view-let, which is there. And as you can see, it only have the default Plone global sections view-let, the old one, that all already know. We're also using Fontella icons. Anyone knows about Fontella? What Fontella is? Yeah, Fontella is a very useful application, a web app, and it's free. And it allows you to select icons from a lot of free icon sets around the web. And it allows you to build a customized set of icons just the way that you will do when you, for example, use the Bootstrap default icons, but there is no need to put all the font of an icon set in your site if you only want to use one icon. So with Fontella, you can be picky on that icons and just select the ones that you want and pack it in a single font file and then serve it in your theme. And we're doing this in Plone and in Barceloneta. And how to use Fontella? If you didn't know about it, just go there, fiddle around a bit, play with it. And you can find the Fontella font that we are using in Plone, in the product section of Plone, static fonts. You only have to load the config.json that you will find there in the Fontella web app, and then all the existing icons that we're using will show up, and you can add or remove the ones that you want. And you can later save it and add it to your own theme. Even you can choose your own icons, as long as you use the same classes for that, it will work for Plone. Then the Plone toolbar, that it's one of the amazing, more amazing things on Plone 5. You can also customize it, of course. And Plone toolbar is using the same old technologies that we are all used to. They're using the bullets and the menus that were already in Plone app layout and Plone app content menu, and you can add your own also to the Plone toolbar. Through all the development of Plone 5, it changed a little bit, but that changes only affects to where are the settings to change the orientation of the Plone toolbar. You know that by default is vertical, but you can put it also in a horizontal way, and you can do this in the side control panel for change that orientation. Then in your themes, you should remind you to include this rule to your Diazo rules. This is a rule that grabs the toolbar from Plone and brings it back to your theme. And it's important. Unless you don't have this rule, you won't see the toolbar. So another thing that changed is the way that we build the control panel. We render the control panel. We used a Fontella font because we wanted to get rid of that old icons that we have it there since Plone 3. And we thought that the best way to do it is to do it also with an CSS font-faced icon solution. So we add to the Plone Fontella font, we add icons for that. And you can add your icon in case that you have an add-on that registers a Plone control panel, a config.let, you can add your own icon the same way by adding your own CSS and providing your own font, or modifying Plone and add your font in the Plone Fontella font. It's using basically, the classes are very straightforward. They're using icon dash, control panel dash, and then the normalized name of your config.let. So we also have easy backend customization, because this is something that a lot of people are care about it, because we want it also. Now Barceloneta theme is Diazo, so we also are Diazoing all the CMS UI forms, and there is several things that we can achieve to backend to theme the Barceloneta your theme, your custom theme. One is reusing Barceloneta resources. As I said, the Barceloneta resources are so you have the separation of concerns that we need to only choose the resources that we need to style the CMS UI of Plone. But we have several other options. We have the new the way to rule to customize the backend by using the backend XML Diazo rule that's already included in Barceloneta, and use its related CSS to make it work only for the CMS UI forms and backend. This is not enabled by default, but you can enable it in your own theme. And I think that in the future, we can use the Plone Internet theme switcher for that. If you don't care about really the backend, you can use the Plone Internet theme switcher to use the Personalit theme for editing, and then you have your custom theme on the front end, just to ease things to when doing themes. Then, that is all with all the new things in Barceloneta, and now I'm going to do a brief introduction about Resource Registry, and because it's a new technology that was introduced in Plone 5 in the last summer, and I think it's very important also for theming and to have some things in mind with Resource Registries. So Resource Registries is the substitute of the old Plone CSS and the Plone JavaScript tools, and they have basically these basic things, basic concepts. You know? We have resources, we have bundles, we have a way to override things. We now can change variables on the fly for the Plone part of the theme. And then we have options to configure the pattern JavaScripts that are used in Plone. Basically, a resource is the basic resource registry unit, and is basically a collection or a groupation of less files and JavaScript. And you can, I tend to think about it like a web component. Let's say select2. So select2 is composed of its JavaScript and also its companion CSS, and one cannot live without the other. So it comes in a pack. So we made that pack visible in Plone also, and we can make that pack a resource and then use it whenever we want. And that's the way of when you can register the resources in Plone, where you can you do it via a register XML, generic setup, and you can see that it's very very straightforward when you have the JavaScript, the CSS, and the name and the URL that you can find each of them, of that resources. Then we have the concept of bundle, because we want to an aggregation of resources being in Plone. And because finally we want that resources merge into one JS file and one CSS in production mode for performance issues and for make our site be fast. We can use a very useful feature of Resource Registry, which is the development mode, where we usually, in development mode, when we are developing our own theme, and you can compile all the less and JavaScripts on the fly as you in your browser, and make changes and then see it directly there without doing anything special or anything else on the backend side. And they can compile also through web statically, so we can make changes and then save it to the ZooDB, and then the production file will be served from the ZooDB and not from the file system, which is another great feature too. And we registered the bundle that way with the, also we have the name of the bundle, then We have the name of the compiled resources that they're going to be in the ZODB or in the file system, and then a timestamp for the last compilation. And if we depend in another bundle, that this will bring us ordering in how we load and the order of the bundles should be. Then we have another feature, which is, I think that it's one of the best features of Resource Registries. That is that we can customize any resource that we can find in ++Plone resources. So we can change on the fly any static resource that was there, including icons or CSS or JavaScript. However, the first thing I saw it, I thought that why we should stop there. Maybe we can make that feature available for any Plone resource. I will talk about more than later, because I think it's very interesting. Then we can change Plone variables through the web also in the variables tab. That also is very useful, and you can change all the a lot of things like color or backgrounds or things like that directly through the web, but only in the Plone part, because that separation of concerns, we have the part that is common to Plone and the base Plone, which is all the standard resources, which includes the toolbar and all the widgets. And then we have all the Barceloneta and the theme-related resources. And we wanted to keep it that way, because we thought that there were things that should be there always, and there are things that should maybe be there and being easy customizable from our own theme. So then we have some niceties also. We have automatic variables in Resource Registries. So when you enable or you register a Resource Registry resource, then a variable is available in the system with the name of that resource. So you can reuse that variable everywhere, wherever you need it. And when I think that you are going to use the most it in your less files. If you want to pull existing resources and add it to your theme, you're going to use the automatic variables and put things like that in your less files, like import URL and then the name of the variable. And you don't have to take in account in where are these resources, because Resource Registry is going to do it for you. So it's using compilation, and through the web they resolve to URLs, and in console they resolve to the file system path for the resource. And this is another nicety from Resource Registry, and it's probably the less known, and we have to thank this to Ramon directly, because it's I think it's very amazing. You know, when you are going, you add new CSS or JavaScript resources in your template, we're using the field slot for the JavaScript and the style slot. And then in our templates, we can put additional CSS and additional JavaScript in our pages. So we don't need to do that anymore, because we can do it directly in the code. For example, in your update method or in your call of your views, you can add this add resource on request, which lives in product CMF resources, and you can just import that for pull directly, put directly a resource in your page or in your, in your view, and the view that you are using. Then we can set, do things like that: add resource on request, self request, and the name of the resource. And the same with the bundle. If I said, okay, I don't want it to put that resource or that bundle everywhere in my site, because I only need it in one view, for example, in a control panel or in during my edit, the edit of my content type. Why I should load for every request that resource, that JavaScript, that CSS, if I only going to use it just in that view. So that's because that's why it's that two helpers for, is for only request your resource and put your resource just in the place that you want, in the view that you want. For example, so that things bring me to my head, to my mind, those products that are packaging of default JavaScript things like, I don't know, like just collective.js. whatever, that loads that JavaScript for every single page on our site. I think that we should stop doing that, and because we can do better than that. We don't want that a JavaScript resource being everywhere in our site. We just need it probably in one or two places, and we can do it now, right here, with pulling the right resource in the right place. Then we have the console script helpers, also bring it by Ramon and et al. And we have these two scripts, these console scripts, that we can use that scripts to compile even JavaScript or our CSS resources from the console. If you're not that kind of developer that you want to use the browser for you to compile your resources, you can still use the console version, which is this one. And you can pull it from your build out and make it available in your environment that way. So you only have to add to the Zopi section of your build out that this script should be generated. So what's new in Diazo? There are also some things new in Diazo. First of all, I want you to remember what is a pure Diazo theme, because somehow I think that we lost that definition somewhere. And the last Plone conference, then we have a talk with Martin Spelli, and you remember us that the Plone Barceloneta theme, the Barceloneta theme that we had at those days was not a pure Diazo theme. And we should fix that, because Diazo was not meant to be like that. And a pure Diazo theme is a theme that it's easy for a designer to jump in and to add new things and to work with it. And it's only a bunch of rules, Diazo rules, and HTML5 or several HTML files, and CSS resource that makes the theme looks like we want it. And it's easy to distribute it through zip for import and export. And at that point, last year, Barceloneta theme wasn't that. And we exposed them why it's not like this way, and he told us that maybe we can do it. What we finally did is we made a Diazo bundle. So a Diazo bundle is a bundle that came directly from the Diazo theme, and it's not needed to be registered anywhere but in the new manifest attributes that we have in Diazo. So this is more or less the same attributes that we had before, but we have the enable bundles and the disable bundles attributes. And then we have the development CSS and production CSS name of the resources. And then we have also the TinyMC content CSS, just in case that you need additional CSS for inside the TinyMC iframe. And then if we should add also a development JS and a production JS additional to our theme. So this is how it looks for Barceloneta theme right now. If we have, we can, yeah, we could do a lot of things with that attributes, like enable bundles from the Diazo theme or just disable, and it's very powerful. The Diazo bundle doesn't show on the Resource Registry, so it just came from the Diazo theme and put it there. So now some best practices. I really think that there are no best practices that works for every scenario, so I'm not going to say you that you should do a file system development for your Diazo theme, because I think that every use case is different, and maybe it's just too much work to get you into build out, get you into how a Diazo theme works and how to do file system development. And so every scenario has its own specific use case. And I think that you should take the way, because as in Plone, we have lots of things of making of ways to make the same thing, like changing the logo. But you should choose the one that you fit better for your use case. So if you find more useful to change the logo through the web, that now we can, just do it. And there's nothing wrong about it. And things like that. So the first thing that I will say is that you should reuse Barceloneta as far as you want or as you wish. We have an optional Barceloneta profile, so you don't have to copy the Barceloneta theme in your own theme, but there is something that you could certainly do and begin with a Barceloneta theme as base of your theme. But I will do a slightly different approach, that it will be use that special profile that lives in the Barceloneta theme and add it to your theme as a dependency in your metadata XML. And then what this profile will do is to register all the Barceloneta resources as a Resource Registry resources. So you could reuse each Barceloneta resource in your own theme by specifying the name of the resource, as we said before. So in your own less, you can import that resource and make it use in your behalf. All the resources are registered with the Barceloneta dash whatever variables, and you can use it that way. So another thing, that you don't get obsessed with some things, that, for example, that you don't have to use Bootstrap, for example, in your Diazo theme. It will certainly be more easy. I don't know if easy will be the word, but you don't have to, because you can choose whatever CSS framework that you want. And you only need to load the CSS framework resources that you are using, and then maybe have some adjustments there to make it finally work. We'll see it right now. Another thing that I should say is that a lot of people are concerned about the number of requests that a page is doing, which you should and you must. But remember that HTTP 2.0 is almost here, and that thing will simply blow away in a couple of years, I hope. And there is not something, I think that there is something that we should begin to be less obsessed with that. And certainly don't be tempted by the dark side. Act as if skin layers are gone. They are not, but we want it for Plone 5 to be gone. It's finally still there, but just don't use that anymore, because somewhere in the future they will go. And use Plone resource instead. It's more easy, and it's the modern way to do things. And for overriding resources, skin resources that are still there, like the logo, and you can use Z3CJBot for it, because it not only can override templates, but it can also override skin resources the same way that it does with a template. So as we said, we are not tied to Bootstrap, and we can use the extend feature for make the existing classes to adapt to our own CSS framework. You can use it in less with the extend. If you are more used to SAS, you can also use the SAS extend feature for do that. And yeah, don't try also to change classes via Diazo, because it really doesn't make sense. Reuse the existing ones, just extending and adapt them to your framework. And if the grid matters, you can adapt the grid via Diazo, as we are doing in Barceloneta too. It's very small, but you can find this rule in Barceloneta theme, where you can change the default grid classes from Bootstrap, and you can adapt it to your preferred CSS framework too. Or you can do it via custom transform, like Mosaic is doing, but almost nobody knows. So another thing is that you shouldn't create a theme from scratch. Use Bob templates, .plone template for that, which is updated. Use the default Plone HTML before Diazo it. I already said it. And now the Plone markup, it's modern and it's robust, it's updated and accessible. Understand Plone structure before doing things, and the distribution of elements before reuse it or before changing it. And copy and reuse Barceloneta less and adapt it if you need to. We also keep in mind that TinyMC is there, and as I said, now the Diazo bundle is capable to put the required CSS, custom CSS that we can apply to our style sheets, and you can configure it directly through the Diazo manifest file. And we also have a nice addition that is the tiny content templates are now in the core. I don't know if someone used them, but we find it very useful in our projects. I don't know if someone tried the TinyMC template add-on plugin, not add-on. Yeah, it's for it enables a new button in the TinyMC when you can put kind of predefined templates available to your users. So, for example, I will put a nice table, style it, and prepare to be filled in there, or I don't know, or a big color peel of like to result some text, and I think that it's very useful and users love that feature. I recommend you to try it also. I also find that thing very interesting, just as a best practice when you have sites in production. We have all these plus resources, plus whatever, everywhere in our site, especially for our themes, or we can also register a new Plone resource resource, and we can make that Nginx serve that content, which is meant to be aesthetically, at least ideally. We can make it to make Nginx serve it as an static content and not make Plone or Zope to serve it. And I think that is a good practice to take into account. And you can do it with that simple Nginx rule, where you can also redirect all the requests to the plus plus whatever that we have in your resource to a local file system directory, and you can combine it with Omelette for mounting that directory in the file system and make that path points directly to the Omelette generated path, which is very convenient. So you don't have to put it manually, all the resource that is in your package somewhere. So another useful tools, one of the most that I've been very impressed, and I thank you a lot to Eric, is the Chroma add-on reloader. That is very useful. I find it that it's awesome. Just try it. The Diazo off and the Diazo debug queries, when you can put it in anywhere in your site just to debug things, and the test rendering page also. It's very useful when you have a page that is a summary of all the common CSS and markup in your site. Now, not only Plone is back, now Through the Web is back. And it's back for good and with vengeance. And we can change the logo now in our, in the site config.let. And you can change the toolbar logo also. However, this is something that I have to say about it, because though maybe it's a requirement for a client to change it, I will never change it, because it's a way to brand the site and say, okay, it's Plone and it's Plone 5 and it's there. And I think that it's a good thing that people notice about that. And of course, if the client wants it to remove it, we can remove it. We can do it quickly and harmless, almost, with the conflict, but it's nothing that I will never do if I can. Then Plone app theming has more power than ever before. And really, you can really do complex things through the web. And I think that is an opportunity to attract new people, because it takes us the opportunity to more people do or more quick things and take a look at what it will be if I theme the site in one way, especially for non-technical people. And I really think that Plone must have a zero effort story for quick customization. And I think that we've come a long way, and but we can improve some things, and we should really make that the learning curve will be very low steep. And with one objective, as I said, to attract more non-technical people and to attract to decision makers and to try Plone and take a look at what it could do for us. So a quick demo. So I don't know if you already been playing with that, but as I said, Plone theming is now, wait. if we go to Plone PP theming, here, we can, for example, clone the existing Barceloneta theme by putting demo here. Oh, okay. Okay. So we have it here. And we have the clone of our Barceloneta theme, and we can go to the less files. Here. And we will go to the here, variables, and we will change several variables of our site. So we will say that the, no, not this. Not really this. We will change the Plone link color. We will make it pink. And we'll change also the time list. So, voila. We'll save it. Then here is the magic button. We can force the compilation of the less resources right in Plone PP theming. So if we should go to the base less resource, which is the one that rules them all, you know, and which is the Barceloneta.plone.less, and then we just compile it. It got compiled. Now it's being stored in the ZODB. And then we can go to our Plone site. And we'll see, whoa. Now that we changed the color of the toolbar, and I don't know what happened with the color of the text. Maybe I just used the wrong variable. Okay, it's demo. So we can also change the logo here, as I said, in the site. And here you can change directly the logo, upload it, and then save. Okay, and we have the Plone Peppa Pig theme. So, presentation. Okay, some final considerations, and there are some gaps in the scenarios that needs to be covered to make that learning curve very low, steep. And I think that there is one nice add-on out there that is Collective JBot that covers that gap. However, it doesn't work for Plone 5 yet, but we are into it. If anyone wants to sprint on that, it's very welcome. And we should also discuss the inclusion in the core. However, as we already talked with some people, there will be some security issues that we need to overcome. But I think that is the piece that misses from the Resource Registry. And then some thoughts for the future. And what will happen when skins will be gone? Because, for example, there are some use cases that you have several sites where each site shares the same theme, but you want to customize, for example, some sites for some color or some logo or some image here and there, and you can now do it easily with the skins. What will happen when we didn't have a skin? So I think that here is when it comes the override tab of Resource Registry, yeah, and I think that it should be extended to work with any Plone resource. So I could have my namespace plus MySpace plus whatever, and then I could override that static resources directly through the web, like the override steps is doing like that. So we can do it easily with a path file manager pattern, and Mosaic already does it, something similar to modify the layout resources. So I think that it's not that difficult, and we can make that that thing go also into the core. So and that's it. Thank you very much. And you have any questions about it?
You mentioned Bob Templates Plone, and I just double-checked that the version that we have right now in Bob Templates Plone works for both Plone 4 and Plone 5, because that's the one that I wrote. So I know that it does not include any Plone 5 specific things that you just presented, right? So I think there's room for improvement, that we could work on a Plone 5 only version that has all the things that you showed in your demo, that we could use, that makes it even easier for people to start.
Yeah, sure. I think that well, the last time I checked, the basic things were there, but I'm sure that not everything that I showed today is there, and we should work on that and make it. Maybe make a specific template for Plone 5, since there are some things that are not working anymore in Plone 4 for the new things. But yeah, we can improve that. Exactly. Another thing that should be improved is the theming documentation, which I don't mention it, and we are working on that, and we have the sprint in Munich three weeks ago, and we were working on that. And I'm pretty sure that in a short time, the theming documentation will improve and include all that things that we saw today.
So you mentioned the add resource method, which I was not aware of. It's nice. But in some cases, in your add-ons, you just don't want this. You want to add a resource for everywhere in your website. And at the moment, I'm not clear about how you do that, because I guess the add-on, collective.whatever, going to produce a bundle. This bundle going to be added to the web page, and it could be an extra CSS, extra JS. So if you have 10 add-ons, you're going to have 20 files to load in your page. Is there any way to gather the bundles together?
That's the one of the gaps that we should overcome in the next months. Yeah, it's true. If you put there 5 add-ons that register their own bundles, you will end up by having 5 bundles and 5 resources, 5 JS and 5 CSS resources loading everywhere in your site, and that's a problem. We need to fix that. But or the people that worked on resources and theming, we didn't find a same way to do it, or we didn't devise a good method to do that. But we're open to anything, and we should discuss that, because it's. I was talking with Simone and Mike about that, and it's the black point that only remains there, and it should be fixed. Absolutely.
Plus, I have to mention that if your add-on depends on jQuery or any mockup pattern, it's going to be part of the final bundle. So you're going to have 10 times jQuery, 10 times model, 10 times everything. That's big.
Yeah, that's why I put emphasis in focus also in that. If you only need one resource for one view or 2 views or whatever, and load it just in that view, don't make it that that resource get loaded every time and everywhere. And I think that it's a good practice to do that and think about how we use our resources and make it sustainable also.
I saw the slide with the ability to add the resource, as you said, instead of for the CSS add resource. Can you add like bundles instead? Can you package them that way?
Absolutely.
You don't do add 10 resources. They could be packaged and then just add one.
Yeah, it's possible. Let me,
Yeah, add resource on request. That's
yeah, it's add bundle on request. Yeah, you can either load a single resource or a bundle that could be disabled by default and not load it every time, and then just put it whenever you need. It should be on code. It is code only. You should execute it on the update method or on the call method on your view or on your form, and then it gets loaded for the template related to that view for that template. Yeah, it's Python. It's not HAL or million thingy. No, it's directly Python. Yep. So thanks again. Thanks everybody.